it's interesting seeing Roseanne because Sam was the one that told her to go to L.A. We played
Denver,
Colorado Springs, actually.
Colorado Springs.
And then we went to this little comedy club afterwards, much like Rodney Dangerfield used to do. And Roseanne was up. No one except
nobody knew her.
That area knew who she was. And so Sam thought she was really funny. And so afterwards they were talking. And he said, you need to get out of here. I'll call Mitzi Shore at the Comedy Store. You need to go to L.A. And I think Mitzi will love you. And so she did, and Mitzi did love her.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Remember This with Denise Boland, and I have on with me again my favorite couple in the world, Bill and Sherry Kinison. Hi guys.
Hello, hello. Always glad to see your smiling face.
Yes, same
here. You know, ever since you had her on, I dropped to a B guest, and she's doing all these interviews. She did one this morning.
Did you?
I'm like, what in the world?
That's what that back screen was. I didn't see. I've learned something new today about green screens and back screens and all that.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. And you are the voice behind the podcast on Sundays. I'm like, one of these days I want to see your face.
Every once in a while I talk her into it, but she doesn't ordinarily.
That's his thing. I just love seeing everyone and saying hi and, talking to all the guests.
It's great. And when you watch it, for those that don't know, Bill has a podcast, The Gospel According to Kinison, and it's every Sunday. And we kind of feel like we're there with you. That's what I love about it. You're very personal. Like you'll talk to the people in the chat, yeah. And it's wonderful. And you always give such a good word.
Well, the way that came about was we had a church in Upland in our theater that we had started, and great church. But when you got a theater and then you have services on Sunday morning, you got to tear down a set on Saturday night, set it up for church. Then you got to put the set back for Sunday afternoon. And after a year, I just couldn't ask the men in our church to do it anymore.
Right.
So I said, all right, we'll close the church. And just to appease everyone, I thought, well, I'll go on Facebook. It'll last 6-8 weeks and we'll all go back to our life. Well, it went totally the other direction. And we run well over 4,000 now live every Sunday morning.
That's amazing.
So that's how that came about.
That's amazing. And, a lot of people were displaced when their churches closed during 2020. And a lot of people don't have a church. So this is ideal for them. Yeah.
I think a lot of people, it's drawn in just people that don't believe, and some do believe, or, it's really nice because it's middle of the road. It is
absolutely
very positive. So
yeah, no condemnation. You grew up
pretty with all good. Of that.
You are. It's very different from the preaching of your father and you guys in the past, right?
Oh yeah, I think probably the smallest segment of our audience is probably Pentecostal people.
Yeah,
I think they gave up on me when I started managing Sam. I think that was the unpardonable sin for him. Yeah. But the vast majority that we hear from really don't even go to church. And sometimes I think that's an advantage for them. And we have all kinds of, all faiths. We have Jews, we have Muslims, we have people from Africa, we have people from Europe. Wow. They're all over the world. And our message really is, when we decided to do that, I thought, well, let's see. You're really not going to scare any people anymore. And that's what churches used to do, was scare you to keep you in church. But now with the threat of extinction at any time. And so I thought, what do they want to hear? Well, I think they want to hear how to pay their rent. and how to buy groceries. And so that's really what we teach is more successful and motivational things. Then that doesn't mean that, we don't touch on other things.
Right.
It just gives people
And
hope.
And occasionally I tick off Facebook. I mean, they sent me a message today. If I didn't straighten up, I wasn't up to community standards. I think it might have been what I was saying about the people that are protesting Jews and everything.
Well,
and I think that wasn't their community standards.
I don't understand that. It's so it's okay to say that a whole group of people should be extinguished. That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, the world is like so totally upside down.
It really is.
It's unbelievable. And I think most of the people don't understand really the history and what's going on. I mean, you have Hamas and Hezbollah and these other, from the time they are born.
That's right.
They are taught to hate and to kill Jews and Israelis. There's a difference.
And Christians.
Just for the sake of being simple, they're taught that from the time they're born.
Yep.
And if they can actually die and get killed killing Jews, they take care of their family financially. And I don't think people understood that. Yeah, so this isn't a thing of where you strike back and teach them a lesson. In my opinion, you have to erase these people because they're still going to keep coming up.
They're promised to be 7 virgins or something.
I don't know if that'd be a blessing having 72 virgins. But,
I did hear
72. Oh, you're way behind.
Wow.
And
how can they even handle that?
I said, I don't know if that's a blessing or not.
I did hear that. I had a joke about do you remember when they would strap the bombs to their chest and they would say that they would get, that would be their reward if they were a suicide bomber, they would get the virgins. And then and this was a true story, there was a female suicide bomber and she changed her mind, and that was in the news, and I made a joke about it. I said, you know why this is the female suicide bomber changed her mind? And they said, why? I said, she didn't want to break a nail. But but that is the truth, that they are deceived into believing in the afterlife they're going to be rewarded. And it's not just the Jews, it's anyone that is not Islam.
Yes, it is.
We're the infidels.
Understand that. If you don't, just watch TV. Just watch the protests on there. They're not just talking about Jews, they're talking about us.
I'm here in New York.
I just like to watch the game channels. I don't
Well, every time I walk in the house, we're watching the news.
But that's why the game shows, I love them. They keep your mind refreshed and thinking. And I'll have to watch Roseanne. I didn't know she had a podcast, so I'll have to watch that.
She does. In fact, I want to show you guys a clip because she mentioned your brother, and I love that. I have to say, I love when comedians, acknowledge him and respect him. He's so much in the fabric of American.
Really changed the world of comedy.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. So the podcast starts off where they're talking, I cut that part out, but they're talking about how when people come and they want to talk about peace, they try to get rid of them. So they were talking about Bob Marley. So that's where Bob Marley
had a good routine on that.
Yes, he did.
Yes. And so then, so this comes up. Here we go. Let me know if you can hear it.
Who was it? What was it like? Did you get to know Kinison at all?
Yeah.
See, I would learn. Is it him? Where he's like, I have a dream. You have a fucking head wound.
Yeah, that's him.
All we are saying is, shut the fuck up. He's another one. Like, he was a big influence too.
Yeah. On generations.
Yes.
So great.
Yeah. I thought he
burnt bright and blew out fast.
Yes, he's another one. So when you blow up like that, and I think I don't know him how you did or
tortured.
Yeah. So to go from, again, like you said, and all of a sudden you're in everyone thinks you're the greatest thing in the world.
Now what are you going to do for jokes?
People
like you.
People like you.
You're not going to come up. Who are you going to fight? You're a millionaire.
Right.
Who are you going to fight now? You're not going to fight them people. You're not even in that thing anymore. it takes a lot of shit to find your funny again. And I felt like he was like, I'm out of funny. See ya.
Probably. He was probably like, I said everything I had to say or did everything I had to do. And then you hit that mark and boom, blow up. I saw him in Tampa. And it was like going to a Metallica concert. I've never been, I've never seen such madness.
So what do you think of that?
Oh, I think it's great.
What they said, yeah.
I think after 32 years, they're still talking.
I love that. I love that they're still talking about him. And I heard you, Bill, on another podcast talk about how you got a phone call from him, or you called him, and this was a few days before the accident, and he said he wanted to go back to the ministry.
Yeah.
Wanted to leave comedy?
Just a phone call. He had talked to me about it actually before he got married. And
so was there something to what they were saying, that he did his comedy, he was funny, he did it all, and he was ready to go back?
No, I think what it was is Sam always felt guilty that he felt like that he had took me out of the ministry. We were pastoring a great church, and I was getting ready, taking a shower and getting ready for Sunday morning service. And it was like God just put in my heart, it's time for you to do something else. We weren't disillusioned. We already knew how crooked preachers were. Our faith wasn't, shaken. We still believed as much as we ever did. And so I remember on the way to the church, which had been her family's church. And I thought she isn't going to go for this at all. And so on the way, while we were driving, I told her, I said, well, I think today might be our last service as pastor. And I said, we'll have to be here a few weeks or a few months to get things straightened out. And so she goes, instead of going, because what I expected her to say was, oh, no, we're not leaving here. We got a great church. We got a great life. And but what she said was, what are we going to do? And I said, well, Sam has been wanting us to manage him for, forever. And I would fly out and, try to take care of whatever. And so I said, we got enough money to last a couple years probably. And let's go out and take a shot at it. And so she said, all right. And we went to Hollywood. When we got there, he was making $35 a night. And then he hit after about 6 weeks after we were there.
Probably, yeah.
And not because of me, because of Rodney Dangerfield. And from then on, we were in the big time. And so that's how we ended up getting out of the ministry. And it's interesting seeing Roseanne, because Sam was the one that told her to go to LA. We played
Denver.
Colorado Springs, actually.
Colorado Springs.
And then we went to this little comedy club afterwards, much like Rodney Dangerfield used to do. And Roseanne was up. No one except
nobody knew her.
That area knew who she was. And so Sam thought she was really funny. And so afterwards they were talking, and he said, you need to get out of here. I'll call Mitzi Shore at the Comedy Store. You need to go to LA. And I think Mitzi will love you. And so she did, and Mitzi did love her. And then once back then, once you got on Johnny Carson, that was worth two years of bookings. Yeah. And I remember Mitzi bringing Roseanne out back with Sam and I, and so she goes, I think you two ought to go on stage together. And so Sam was like, sure. And then I remember Roseanne going, you can't say anything about my weight. And so Sam goes, hey, don't get on stage if you can't handle the sword. And so that never did happen. But
they didn't get on stage together.
They ended up being good friends and everything. But he was the one that influenced her.
Look at that.
To go to LA.
Wow.
Small world.
It's a small world. If she never would have went, she never would have got on Carson.
No.
Wow.
And I'll never forget Sam, he did Carson twice, but I remember once
at the end, yeah.
And then he said, "I've made it. We made it. We made it. We made it. We made it on car." And that's how back then, really, that's how people thought. Once they made it on Johnny Carson, that was
Yeah.
Well, we had already made it, and actually, Sam and I were at the Palm Restaurant, and they had a booth, and they had put his picture where this booth was, and that was always his booth. And so Johnny was sitting at a table by himself, and so he saw Sam and motioned for us to come over to his table, and so we went over, and I remember Johnny was like, "How come you don't do my show? You're doing everybody else. You're doing Letterman. You know, you're doing everybody else. How come you don't do my show?" And so Sam gave me this look like, "Yeah, brother. Why aren't we? Why haven't we done the Tonight Show?" And so I told him, I said, "Your artistic director. I've had him to the Comedy Store a few times, and every time he tells me that Sam can't play Tonight Show." And so Johnny, I remember he said, "Call Monday, and he'll have a date for you." And so we did, and that's how we ended up. But that was really just not long before he, was, and so that made a dream for Sam come true. And another great story about it was when Sam and my brother Kevin were struggling even to live out there. We were trying to help them pay their rent and everything else. Well, they used to walk down. They lived at the Garden Apartments, and they used to walk down to see the Johnny Carson, the Tonight Show. Well, to do that, you had to be down there like 4 o'clock in the morning to get a ticket, and then then you had to be back at like 6 o'clock
for the taping
for another ticket. When the men filtered out, and then you came back at 2 o'clock and get in the line for a 5 o'clock taping. Well, once we got dates, I remember Sam called me and goes, "Hey, these breakfast trucks that's always around?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Get a couple of them. And everybody that comes down there, give them the breakfast free. Tell them I'll pay for it."
What a good heart.
So we did. And then when you were with us then, when we were riding in the limo over to do the Tonight Show, and the line was already been there. They've been standing there for a couple hours.
Hours, right?
Sam has them stop the limo. He gets out. He shakes every hand in that line.
Wow.
And tells them, "I used to stand right here. I used to be right where you're at."
Right.
Well, Johnny Carson and his people, they don't know that. So we go in, and Johnny was just great to us, and he had a reputation. He didn't like to take pictures with anyone, but our daughter Ginger was with us, and
Oh, really?
he thought she was so beautiful. He said, "I want to take a picture with her."
Oh, that's great.
And so we did. But he comes out and he does his monologue, and then he announces, to the tonight's guest. And so when he mentioned Sam Kinison, the place goes nuts. And so Johnny was like, "Well, I guess you've heard of him." And he didn't know that Sam had already shook every person in his hand.
Right.
And so, but that's how Sam was. I mean, people hardly ever saw that side of him.
He was a class act.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Very free. It's something because I talk with people who've met celebrities and they're like, "Oh my God, they're nothing in person like they are, on the screen. They're not friendly. They're rude. Not all of them, but some. One I can say because he's not here anymore. But Jerry Lewis came to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry Lewis was a piece of work.
Oh my gosh. There were people waiting online to go backstage to meet him. My friends were on that line and he was in the back yelling and screaming, "I don't want to see anybody." And and they all kind of turned around, about face, and left.
Sam,
he was the real deal.
He couldn't understand when people were upset with the people that take the pictures and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, the paparazzis. And he told me, he said, I don't get it. This is the reason I got into the business, was to be famous and to make money. And man, he would go over, he was friends with most of them.
He'd be very friendly. He was never rude to anyone
that
I know of.
Not a fan that I know of he was ever rude to.
Yeah.
What was it? You know, you and I had talked, and you were asking me something. I said, well, there's a good backstory to that. Do you remember what it was?
Oh, gosh. I have ADD. You're asking the right person.
Was it back to school?
Or was it?
Maybe it was. Maybe it was. Is there a backstory? Because I don't think you talked about that when he was in the movie Back to School.
Well, that movie was already in the can. And Rodney demanded, after Sam did his special, and that was his big break, Rodney demanded that he's in this movie. So we spent 2 days out there in Malibu and shot all of his scenes. By the way, it was all improv with Rodney and Sam.
Wow, that wasn't scripted.
But the girl
that was great.
That is down front.
The student,
yes. You know, and he asks a question, and she's going, you know, and so Sam eventually picks up a desk and throws it over her head. It took us. Rodney was going nuts because it took us over a half a day just to shoot that scene because she kept messing up.
Oh no, she kept messing up her lines.
Oh yeah, I won't say what all Rodney said, but he wasn't happy about it. And then the other thing, if you ever watch it again, there's a young man sitting next to Rodney, and Rodney turns to him and goes, you know, he seems to really care about what? I don't know. Well, that was my brother Kevin that ended up getting murdered.
No.
He was in that scene.
He's in that scene?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
But all those scenes, or not all, but the scenes with Sam, they had to put in the movie because it was already done. It was in the can, and they were waiting to release it. But Rodney demanded that they put Sam in this movie.
Wow. If I pull it up right now, you can show me which one is Kevin?
Sure.
Okay, let me look that up.
What a great movie. I mean, people
they
still watch that movie.
He is so, oh my gosh. Rodney Dangerfield.
A crusade in Dallas for an entire month. I mean, entire summer. Well, his movie, Back to School, came out. We had to drive to, Sam was with us, and we had to drive to Albuquerque every single day
to watch it.
Yeah.
It was over an hour drive. We'd barely make it back.
Here we are.
Welcome to Contemporary American History. I'm Professor Turkison. A lot of people think history is just facts.
He's right. He's over here, but you'll get a facial view. Yeah, he's got a jean jacket on.
Okay.
Sacred.
Right there.
The way the farmer looks at the earth and he holds it sacred. The way a Christian takes the Bible and he holds it sacred. The way a lot of people hold their marriage sacred.
Is that him?
That's how I feel about it.
No, not
yet.
yet.
We dive right in by interpreting one of the easiest events in the last 20 years of American history.
Been there.
Now, can someone tell me why in 1975 we pulled our troops out of Vietnam?
The failure of Vietnamization to win popular support caused an ongoing erosion of confidence in the various American but illegal Saigon regimes.
Is she right?
Okay, right there.
I saw him.
Version of what went on there. I know a lot of people like to believe that.
They show him again?
I wish I could, but I was there. I wasn't here in the classroom, hoping I was right, thinking about it. I was up to my knees
right there.
with rice patties.
Wow.
Johnson Edwards going up against Charlie, slugging it out with him, while pussies like you were back here partying, putting headbands on, doing drugs, listening to the goddamn Beatle albums.
Hey, Professor, take it easy, will you? I mean, these kids, they were in grade school at the time. And me, I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover.
Love that laugh.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted to get involved with the discussion, Mr. Helper. But since
He
you
would
want to
laugh
help,
at
maybe you can
himself.
help me, okay?
That was.
You remember that thing we had about 30 years ago called that Korean conflict? Yeah, where we failed to achieve victory. How come we didn't cross the 38th parallel and push those rice eaters back to the Great Wall of China and take the Berkeley brick and nuke them back into the fucking Stone Age River? How come? Tell me why? Say it!
All right, I'll say it. Because Truman was too much of a pussy wimp to let MacArthur go in there and blow out those commie bastards.
Oh my God, what would these two have to say if they were here right now?
I know. Not politically
Like the way
correct,
you
huh?
think.
Nope.
We're gonna be watching
And nobody
you.
thought anything of it.
Not at all. Nobody got
Good
offended.
teacher.
Nope.
He really seems to care.
It's
About what, I have no idea.
the best.
Oh my gosh.
I've watched that 1,000 times, and it makes me laugh every time.
Every time I get so much joy. I got to tell you, I kind of, when I was going through a rough time, I just started watching Sam's videos one after another just to get me through, because you can't help but laugh. And you
And we've had how many people? We've had so many people tell us that because of Sam's videos, it got them through such a hard time in their life.
Yeah.
I remember my mother when he did his first special there at the Roxy.
Yeah.
And who, by the way, most comedians, Jay Leno and all of them say that's the best comedy special that's ever been made, was Sam's first one, Breaking the Rules. Anyway, my mother and stepfather had a church in Tulsa. And so my mother wasn't really too crazy about Sam's language and stuff that he would use. And but one day he took her and bought her a brand new Mercedes. And it was just before this special. So they were asking her, said, what do you think about Sam's comedy? And all of a sudden she's going, oh, he helps people. Once she got that Mercedes, he helps people.
Oh, now he helps people.
You see her on the interview. I mean, I think
it's on there.
Back to School.
Yeah.
It is.
No, not on Back to School.
No, it's
Breaking the Rules.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is she in an interview?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Wow. So now, I don't know if you want to go into it, but I'm just curious. How come she didn't like Sam's wife?
Oh, she wasn't alone.
Okay. Well,
how
come a lot of people?
Well, just to be totally honest with you, Sam was killed 5 days after they got married. She didn't come to the funeral service. I remember we had the memorial service.
She didn't come to the wedding.
Sherry, she came to the wedding. They got married.
Oh no, your mom didn't come.
Your mom?
Oh no, yeah, my mother was, but no, not at those. My mother wouldn't come to the wedding.
No,
and Tony.
But before that, was there any kind of indication that she wasn't right for him? Is that why your mother wasn't crazy about him?
Yeah. There was none of us, that was crazy about her.
You could tell. I mean, honestly, she was a gold digger. They were gold diggers.
Okay, well, I've been sued a lot of times, so help yourself.
Well,
the reason I'm asking is because of the last time you were on, you were saying how she was adamant of the fact that he shouldn't marry her. That something bad was going to happen, right?
Yeah, she actually said her dead husband came and told Sam, or told her to tell Sam, and she flew down to New Orleans to our show just to tell him that get his business in order because he was going to die
if he married her.
And that was a week or two before the wedding, and she would not come to the wedding because she said if you marry her, you're going to be cursed. And he married her, and they got killed. Now, I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but she thought so.
She thought so.
Mm-hmm. My mother was a strong woman. So.
And she had a good gift. I mean, she really did when she wanted to use it or kept it in perspective.
You didn't want her mad at you.
Did she keep you guys in line when you were growing up?
Oh, yeah. I was physically abused regularly.
That's how they did it back then, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well,
I
would take it so my brothers didn't have to take it. I was whipped with everything from electric extension cords to clubs, whatever she could grab.
Yeah.
And so I told her one time, I said, well, you made me tough. By 12 years old, she could beat me. I wouldn't even flinch. And if I got in a fight, which I used to get in a lot of when I was a kid, they'd hit me and I go, my mom hits harder than that. And she did.
she'd be in jail this day and age. I mean,
Yeah, now kids calling the cops on their parents.
Yep.
Crazy. Yeah. Makes you
Strong
stronger
lady.
though.
Strong lady. But we, I don't want to just leave it there because
Yeah, no, but it makes you stronger. It builds
eventually
character.
she and I, last several years, we had a great relationship.
It's great. Yeah. Mine was similar. I came from a very, very abusive home, but the last few years of my mother's life, we made the peace. Yeah. A lot of times if it's happened to them, like depending on what their childhood was like, they grow up and they repeat the cycle, so.
Well, that's what she did. She was abused.
Yeah.
And there were 4 boys. I mean, I was the first girl, and luckily I got along with her, and we had fun. I mean, we did have our troubles, but she knew I wasn't going to take it. And after that, we were
probably
fine.
Respected you for that too.
Yeah, it made me really feel good too.
So now you've gone through some trying times. Do you want to share with the audience, Sherry, what you've gone through with the cancer?
Oh, well, my brother was 10 years after Sam, and him and Sam were very, very close. I've gone through breast cancer, and I still work with the Pink Journey Foundation because of it. So, nope, it's I thank God I got through it, and now I can help the next woman. And
yes,
and Bill was the supporter for husbands, so it really it was just another level of the ministry, I called it, but and we're still involved.
So now when you went through it, you grew up in the church and faith in God, but was your faith shaken at all when you were going through it? Did you have any fear that you might not survive? I mean, what was that like?
I think you don't think about it. I just think that you put your, you just look straight ahead, you don't look out of your peripheral vision or behind. You just, and my mom and dad, of course, they were not for chemo. And I think the doctor I had, Dr. West, was so good with mom and dad and really helped open their eyes with, like he would say, God gave me a gift. He gave me these hands, and I'm able to work on women because, mom and dad were more holistic.
Well, and they also believed in healing, and
yes,
and your dad had a lot of healings under his ministry.
Yeah.
So it was hard for them to accept. I remember when we went to the hospital to have a mastectomy, and we had not told her mom and dad because we both knew what their reaction was going to be. Well, I took her dad outside, and I sat down with him, and he was into shark cartilage and all this kind of stuff, and so I told him, I said, Rev, the reason we're here is Sherry has cancer, and they're going to remove her breast. And so, and I said, I don't doubt your testimonials at all.
Right.
But I think that God gives people talents that we need to take advantage of. And I said, I wanted you to know that before she goes in. And so he said, well, all I can tell you is what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing was, he ended up dying of prostate cancer.
Look at that.
But he did everything he could
to stay alive.
to stay alive. So it's a little different when it happens to you. And I told him, now her mother,
I think that's using wisdom, actually.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Now her mother was a different story. And I knew, so I didn't tell her. I thought, man, we'll just, Dr. West, who was the #1 leading breast surgeon in the world, was her doctor, just luckily, or God, whatever. So he met with her parents and me, and I'll never forget. He was really happy because he said everything went perfect, and I left enough skin that if she wants to have reconstruction, she can do that. And so the light went on in in her mother's brain.
We can laugh about it now.
Yeah, well, I was laughing then, but not at the moment. Anyhow, so she goes, you didn't take her breast off, did you? And so one of the few times I've seen Dr. West really be stern. And so he's like, ma'am, this is a life-threatening disease. She very possibly could have died. Well, she turns to me and goes, what else you been lying to me about?
Oh, gosh.
I told her I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you because I knew how you was going to react. So.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
I told Dr. West, I said, I can live without a tit. I don't care.
There
I
you
just
go.
want to
That's
live.
right. That's right.
And he laughed. He said, oh my
We're
God.
still friends with him to this very day.
I wish people
Close friends.
could be that way, but
Yeah.
you know.
No,
So
I think that
everyone at breast cancer interview, he was on Dr. Oz because he was
wow.
the first, we were the first, he was the first doctor. A girl was 18 diagnosed. And so she came to him for a second opinion and he did a mammogram and he saw her phone. So when I see somebody walking down the street and they have a phone in their breast, I say, please remove that.
Yes.
That's, you're just
they don't
asking
realize the radiation. Yeah, absolutely. Or even going to sleep at night and keeping it.
Yes.
I tell my girls all the time, it shouldn't even be in your bed.
Yeah.
Don't even keep it in your bed, the phone.
Well, she was the first. Dr. West had the what I call self-serve clinic. Yeah, they did everything there. You didn't have to, because you used to have to go over here to get an MRI or over there to get a PET scan. And they did everything right there. And
Right.
And he was the first clinic in the country that did that. They flew in to try to pattern after that, but also I remember when they sat down with us and told her, you know, that what their plan or what they plan to do, and they said, we have to have your permission. We're going to give you chemo before surgery. Well, that back then, this is in
17 years ago.
Yeah, 17 years ago. Well, they didn't do that. You know, you usually had, you know, the surgery and then they'd give you chemo, which I right. Now thinking about it, I don't know why that, you know, but he said you'll be the first patient that will actually get chemo first. And from then on, now that's common practice.
Oh, now it's okay.
But back then she was the first.
So, wow. So he was on top of his game, that doctor.
Oh, yeah.
And wow. It's interesting how many people, I mean, just since I moved here, there's still, I don't know, I've helped four ladies in California that I sent them down to the breast link. And, you know, it's a journey, but, you know, you walk with them through it. So,
well, the celebrities, which they don't want anyone to ever know, but the celebrities that she has counseled. And
with the HIPAA laws, you have to be very careful about. I don't say anything. It's your story to tell.
Right.
So,
it's all confidential. Yeah, but that's wonderful how you're paying it forward and you're helping so many people.
Yes. Yeah. So
that's why I'm bald. It really anyway. Is. Well, I probably would have been, but back then I had a ponytail that went down to my waist, and. I think she was really concerned about her hair, and she asked him, am I going to lose my hair? And they was like, oh, yeah. Yeah. And so I knew she was really concerned about it. And I said, if you start losing your hair, I'm going to shave my head. And so she did. And I shaved my head, and I've been this way ever since. I wish I'd have done it sooner.
Really? Oh, so you shave it off now or just never grow back? How does that work?
I just keep shaving it.
You keep shaving it. Wow. Yeah. Oh, well, it's a good look.
Well, thank you.
It's a good look.
At my age, you don't care anymore.
I said, if Sam was alive, maybe we could have convinced
him. Oh, God.
Because he always had that comb over. That's why he wore the bandana.
I know. He didn't like that.
And the beret, he tried to. Of course, your dad always had a comb over, too.
Oh, yeah. That's why when I started thinking I started to lose hair, which I was, I went straight back. I thought, I'm not going to do that.
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah. And he had, the rest was like a full head of hair, Sam. He had the thick, it was very thick hair.
Up here was almost slick as could be.
Yeah.
I took after my dad. It grew back the same color. It just didn't grow back as thin. So I kept it short. You know, when you have no hair and you finally get hair, it's like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. Hair is hair.
Yeah.
No big deal.
And it looks great. You look great.
Thank you.
I want to talk about, okay, so this weekend they have what's called the Chiller event in New Jersey. And that's where celebrities come to meet the fans. And Susan Olsen is coming. So that's Cindy Brady from the Brady Bunch. And I didn't realize until after I got off the podcast with you guys, I was looking up your daughter, that she played Marsha Brady in the Brady movie, the Brady story. She was phenomenal. And oh my God. And she actually looks like Marsha Brady. So that was incredible. How did she get that role?
She auditioned. They called her. She had a good agent, you know, in LA. And for years, you know, she did a lot. She did. Yeah. And, you know, so that was just one of her roles. And so
neither one of her, well, she might have pushed her. I never pushed her.
No.
Because I'd be honest with you, I didn't want her in the business. But she did, and she made a lot of money, bought her own condo, bought her own cars, bought a house. I mean,
I think we were in an event in LA, and I think she was 3 or 4. We were Sam, and I don't know, he was doing something, but we took Ginger everywhere with us. And so an agent was there and saw her, or the twins saw her, and they wanted her. Yeah. The Doublemint twins were there, and they were just fabulous. They were so sweet. And they said, she's got to go to our agent. So that's how Ginger got involved.
Wow. So she started real young then.
Yeah, she did.
And she lost a lot of big roles to Kirsten Dunst.
Really?
Get down to her and Kirsten had better portfolio than Scarlett. And when I'd walk in and I'd see Kirsten, I just wanted to slap the kid. You know, I was like, oh man. But she did several things.
She did a soap opera, and then we turned down a couple roles just because.
Well, I don't know. Trying to think of.
Was it called The Good Doctor? No.
No, The Good Wife.
The Good Wife. Oh.
With Liam Neeson, where he molests his girl or his wife's stepdaughter, and even though she would never, you know, she would never be involved in it. I just didn't even want her.
Yeah.
You know, to even be in that. And then the one with Kevin Costner, I'm trying to think of the water thing.
I don't remember what that one was.
Was that a movie?
Yeah. Can't think of the name of it, but she was
not water.
She landed that role, but she had to jump off the boat into the ocean. That wasn't going to happen. So she kind of pulled herself out of that.
Wow. So how many years did she act? About?
Probably 20.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
18, maybe 20.
Yeah.
She said, Mom, I just want to live a normal life. Okay.
Good for her.
And she didn't handle rejection. A lot of people can't handle rejection. And I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
In that business, you're going to have more rejections than you're going to get jobs. And that's at any level. At every level, you're going against somebody.
Yeah.
Something
people have to learn. Yeah, people have to learn that early on if they want to be in the business. They have to have tough skin.
They really do.
You have to go on audition after audition.
Even in theater, you know, I used to tell, because they would say, Sherry, help us get an agent. And I'd say, you know, you better toughen up, because.
Well, it's a commitment from the entire family.
It's a commitment. It really is.
Because if you start not making your auditions, the agent drops you. So, I mean, you have to, if they call you and sometimes you only got an hour or two to be down there, then you've got to be there.
Yeah.
And then there's so many things coming out about what's going on behind the scenes with the kids. So you heard all about Nickelodeon and all that. And yeah, so sad what these kids went through.
It really is.
She was in the movie Domino. And I'm trying to think of Tony Scott.
He passed away.
Yeah. Was directing it. And so there was a scene where it's all college kids, and she's one of the college kids. And so he wants Ginger to take off her top. Well, Ginger had told him from the start, had told the producers, I am not, going to undress. And so they kept they kept coming in and asking, and I happened to be there that day. And so I finally, I told him, I said, she said no. And that's it. So now they're getting ready to shoot the scene. And so Tony Scott is telling her, I want you to take off your top. And so Ginger's telling him no. And so he just keeps on going like she's going to do it. And so I finally spoke up. And I said, hey, she said no. So then he turned around and somebody goes, who the hell is that? And he goes, that's Bill Kinison. He's like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not, comes over and said, Bill, I'm sorry. I didn't know that was your daughter. And I said, if my daughter or not, why would you keep pushing it? Yeah. If they tell you no, then find somebody else. And so anyway.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw the interview with Dan Schneider.
No, I didn't get a chance.
Well, they came out with the documentary where the kids were coming forward and
I've seen that.
He came out with a fluff video about, if I only knew that they weren't happy and that they could have came, they could have told me. No. First of all, everybody was deathly afraid of him. Second of all, if you didn't do what he wanted, you were out the door. Yeah. In fact, the parents that did speak up, they fired the kids.
Oh,
yeah. So it's a crazy.
Both of us watched her pretty closely, and then when they found out who I was, that was a different ball game, which it shouldn't be, because the one thing that she did a series for Even Stevens, and
okay,
and so the extras, was there. Ginger was one of the leads, but the extras, the way they were being treated, I just thought that's horrible. They couldn't say a word to any of the actors and everything else. And so I'm trying to think, Hunt was the big director.
Yeah, his daughter's an actress.
Yeah, and I finally told him, said, hey, do you know what's going on out here? And he said, well, Bill, we can't let them mingle with, I said, the way they're being treated, forget about mingling. They don't want to mingle. They just want to say hi every once in a while.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so sometimes it wasn't good to have me around.
But it's good you were around.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes.
Wow. So Richard Lewis, you knew him well?
I did.
So sad that he's gone. I don't know if you saw him in the last few episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm, and he looks so ill. You could see it, right? Yeah.
He also did a episode on 2.5 Men that I thought he played an accountant, and it was typical Richard. But
he was great. I mean,
you kind of
was.
Richard was real eccentric. Did you know him?
I did not.
Okay, well, he was. You didn't approach him. He would, if he wanted to talk to you, he'd approach you, and he had a lot of problems, and went to the rehabs, a few times, and but every time that we would see each other, he'd always, call me over, and we would talk, and and I'd ask him, how you doing? He goes, I'm doing good now, and last time I seen him, I think was at the Comedy Awards. And I was out back, under the tents and everything. And he is off just by himself. And then he saw me. And so I told him, I said, come on, Richard, let's go mingle a little bit, man. And he goes, Bill, I can't do it. I said, man, I get too freaked out.
Yeah.
And so I said, all right, well, then I'll just hang with you then. And so
was he introverted?
Huh?
Was he introverted? Was he socially?
Yeah, I think he was. He came out to the theater and he sat I'll never forget, he sat in the back row, and I said, Richard, is there anything we can do for you? And he goes, no, just let me sit here, and I just want to watch the show. And, nobody bothered him. Nobody went up to him. And I think Renee Taylor and Joe Bologna.
I think they were, yeah.
They were doing a show, and Richard came out to see it. So,
yeah.
Now they were an interesting couple.
Who were they again?
Joe Bologna and Renee Taylor.
Okay.
and both of them, very established stars. Joe has died, since then.
I know, Joe.
But man, they would be in the green room or the dressing room in the back there at our theater, and vicious. I'm not talking about arguing. I'm talking about vicious.
Wow, things flying across the room.
Especially after, after the play would be over, they'd be back there changing clothes, and what's wrong with you? Can't you see anymore? What are you going to do? F up every show we do and everything else. And then they come out and they go, he had a favorite place to eat there in Upland where we lived.
Yeah.
And they come out and be like they just,
right.
This is great, where we're going to go. And, I want to go back over to Sycamore Inn and everything. So I finally told Sherry, I said, I think that's how they communicate.
Yes. That's how they
being around them. Yes. That's how they talk to one another. But
right.
Both good people, though. Very good people.
Yeah. So now, what other comedians were friendly with Sam, or you spent a lot of time with?
Yeah,
a lot of comedians.
Actually, as close friends with rockers.
Closer than the comedians.
Yeah.
At first, it was comedians, though. Well, I don't know.
Well, Robin Williams.
Robin Williams was a good friend. Him and Sam. Yeah. I think he was the only one that would go up on stage with Sam, and they would banter back and forth.
Oh, I got to tell her this story.
Yeah.
With Robin and Sam. Robin told Sherry and I one night. He said, "I would love to be a preacher for one night, a real preacher, for one night." And one of us said, "Why would you want to be a preacher?" And he said, "I'd like to see what it felt like to actually change somebody's life." And I go, Robin, you changed so many people's lives, you don't even realize it with your comedy. I did his eulogy, actually.
Did you? Oh.
Yeah. And I talked to him a couple weeks before that, or maybe 4 or 5 weeks. And we were doing a fundraiser for breast cancer, of which he never had told me no, but this particular time, he said, I can't do it, Bill. And we was going to give him $50,000. And he said, I can't do it. And so I was like, well, what's going on, Robin? And he said, my Parkinson's is really bad. And I've got some financial problems. I'm going to sell the Santa Barbara ranch. And then he told me, he said, but good news is I found a great little Christian church in San Francisco that I go to. And I go, I'm glad you're happy with it. That's the last time I talked to him. But I really loved at the end of the eulogy, because they had asked me to pray. And so I gave the eulogy. Then at the end, I was like, because it was all industry and everything. That's a lot of, mostly Jewish people. And so I told him, I said, I've been requested that I would pray at the end of the service. And I said, I just don't feel like that's appropriate. And I don't want to upset anybody by saying the name of Jesus. And everybody just rolled.
It broke the ice.
That is great.
He was a very, very close friend.
Wow.
He actually signed a lease on a house for Sam when he was struggling and trying to make it.
So now, was he depressed? I mean, do you think he took his life?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Robin.
I didn't know he had Parkinson's. I don't think that was made public.
When I heard what happened, I was shocked but not surprised, because when Robin was around, he was always up. Well, if you can't be up there all the time,
right?
You got to have those other moments to even it out.
Yeah.
And it never seemed like that he did that. So when he did, come down, it would just be as extreme.
Yeah.
As
crash and burn. Yeah.
Right. And so
it was Parkinson's, he said, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So what you saw on the screen and on stage, he was like that.
Yeah, he was like that.
Personally with his friends, always
parking lot there in the comedy store. It made no difference if he was in the public.
Yeah.
I think he just felt like he had to do that. He was a very sensitive, person. which a lot of people may not realize, but he was a very sensitive person. And he had, I don't know how many, but whenever he did a movie, they had to employ so many homeless people that he would say, if you want me to do the movie, you have to employ this many homeless people to be in the movie.
He had a heart. I mean, most comedians that we met, I think they all had a heart for because they all came from, most of them came from poor backgrounds, So.
Well, I'm probably alienating most comedians that I know right now, but I think they're comedians are some of have the lowest esteem and the lowest self-image, maybe of any other profession. That's why they're comedians.
Yeah.
They their whole life they've been the class clown and whatever, and they can slip into this character. And that's been my experience with most of them.
Yeah. Richard Pryor, he had a
very close
upbringing. Yeah. And
he also,
your upbringing was similar to his though, right? I mean, you both grew up poor in the same neighborhood.
Same projects.
And
but he also told Sherry and I always felt like I should have been a preacher.
It really did.
And so I said, well, dude, you always do it.
I told him, I said, I feel like you've preached your whole life. I mean, honestly, you get out there in the audience and you become a preacher. You have been. You were an advocate for your human beings, for your own kind. So,
yeah.
Right. Well, I was going to tell you a story with Robin and Sam.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The first time, that they got on stage together, Sam was totally intimidated. And when they were through everything else, he come out back and told me, and he was just discouraged. And he goes, dude, he dusted me. And I go, Sam, from now on, next time, bring him into your territory, not his.
Right.
Bring him into yours. Well, Robin loved church things. He loved like being a preacher. Sam would sit on the piano and Robin get up and act like he was preaching. And Sam would back him up on the thing. Well, and so then they end up just, Robin would call and go, what time is Sam coming up? And then he'd come down, and I don't know how many times, but this particular night, they were on stage together, and they're killing the place. They're at the Comedy Store in the original room, and the hostages in Iran had just been released from like 400 and some days of captivity.
1979, right?
Sam dealt with everything with comedy. And so he starts talking, him and Robin are talking about it. And so Sam's like, yeah, 437 or whatever it was. I was a POW and everything else. He goes, you know what? I've been married for 2 effing years. I know what it is to be a POW. I know what it is to be MIA. Well, over at the side is a Green Beret in his outfit. And so he yells out to Sam, which isn't far. It's like maybe 15 feet. Anyhow, so he yells out and goes, yeah, I bet you didn't even go. Robin, man, he takes off to the other side of the stage. He's like, if they're going to lay it down, I'm not going to be in it.
I'm out of here.
And so Sam turns around and, and he, how he would about, you've got my complete attention now. And so he tells the guy, he said, no, I didn't go. I was 12 years old at the time. And even the soldier, laughing, and they ended up meeting each other after the show was over. But that's one of my best
funny
stories that I knew.
I can picture him like taking off.
Dad over to the other side of that stage going, if this breaks out, I'm out of here.
Picture that.
Yeah, we met some wonderful people.
It's great. It's just so great that you've had these people in your life and you've been in their lives. So you were a blessing to them just as much as they were a blessing to you. Yeah.
Well, we thought we got out of the ministry, and all the preachers that blacklisted me, they thought I'd got out of the ministry.
Feels like
we just changed venues.
Yeah. Now let's go over again about this phone call. I think you said it was a phone call on the other podcast when Sam said he wants to go back to the ministry.
Okay. Well, it wasn't a phone call. We were
Okay.
together.
Okay.
And I think we were coming back from Fox on the Charlie Hoover. We was wrapping up the Charlie Hoover deal. And we're driving back. And so he told me, because the convention was in May. And this probably was in, I don't know, several months before. And so he's like, hey, dude, I think I'm gonna go back in the ministry during.
I can't see Sherry's beautiful face.
Mom and AD's, Sherry?
Yeah. I didn't see you. I want to see you. Okay.
Sorry.
He said, I think I'm going to go back in the ministry at Mom's convention. And so I went, Sam, this ain't something to play around with. This isn't like, you're gonna preach somewhere. I mean, this, if you're gonna do it, you have to do it. And you got to commit to it. And he goes, no, brother, I'm going back in the ministry. And I told you that he always felt guilty because he felt like he took me out of the ministry, which he didn't. That was my choice. And I really felt to do what I did. And so we talked about it, several times. And I was like, man, don't be a Marjoe Gortner. And he was a child preacher, and after a while he grew up, and it wasn't that didn't have the appeal anymore, and ended up, in Hollywood, and I think judging like Hawaiian tans or something like that. And so we discussed it, and he was totally serious about it, because when we went back to Tulsa to our family's church, we couldn't even tell anybody he was there, because this church would have been full of fans, and they'd be trying to have church. We didn't even play Tulsa until probably less than a year before he died, because of we didn't want to affect our parents' church. But yeah, he was serious about going back in the ministry. And he said, I know I be successful this time. I know what I'm doing. Where before he was very honest about it. He didn't know what he was doing. And wasn't very successful. And
he never hid his relationship with God.
He considered himself a believer all the time.
Yeah.
And he affected a lot of the comedians. I mean, they had a lot of conversations about it backstage, and some of them would come to his home, or it was just.
Well, if he did interviews, I remember one particular with Larry King.
Yeah.
And he brought up, do you still believe in God? You used to be a preacher. And so Sam was like, yeah. I don't think, and even on Johnny Carson show, remember?
I remember that. He got up and he started.
Comment. Yeah, I don't think they're going to go for it and everything. But I mean, he never ever backed off of what he considered being a believer. Yeah. And, naturally after he got killed, and, I do interviews, and idiots will go, where do you think he's in hell now? And I go, I know exactly where he's at.
How do people even talk like that?
Oh, they're idiots.
And the reason I did want you to talk about this is because I do see, like, in the comments, they're like, oh, well, he turned his back on God, and he made jokes about Jesus. How could that have been the Lord he was talking to? And and you know better than anyone,
Well, he was the first comedian that ever did Jesus jokes or taught, because he was the only person
really, which I thought were very funny,
that knew what he was talking about. He had read the Bible many, many times, and he could just.
Well, he had preached for 7 years, and actually,
it was funny if Jesus was married. That was.
he was actually great funny on giving information. Why he wasn't successful in the ministry was, and it's really shocking, is that he didn't have stage presence. He really felt like preaching was just giving out information. And I would try to tell him over and over and over, dude, you have to do it in an entertaining way.
Yeah.
These people, they want to hear you preach, but they also want to be entertained.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't handle that concept.
Yeah. And he would make people laugh in church, and pastors did not like that. Back then, you could not laugh in church.
Yeah. It's
I
different
didn't
now.
stop him.
No.
Well, he would have made an amazing preacher. But you know what? The Lord takes you when he's ready to take you, when it's your time.
Yeah.
He was created to do what he did.
And he did it
I
amazing.
believe that with all my heart. He tried. And the reason he preached is
Yeah.
he called it doing the Julian Lennon thing, doing it for dear old dad. And he was named after my dad. And then after my dad had died, he was 16. And that's when he decided, you know, I want to go with you guys in the ministry. And so we took him. Got some great stories, but we took him.
Yeah. I love it. I want to ask you two before we close. People talk about bucket lists. Do you have a bucket list? Is there anything on your bucket list that you guys want to do that you've never done?
I think personally,
we've done so much. I mean, honestly, our bucket list is probably full. I have no desire to go to other countries. It's like, and I think we've been just about everywhere in the United States.
yeah, every state.
I don't know. What would be our bucket list? Dolly Parton, she's the only one I haven't, and I'd love to sing with Dolly Parton, but you know.
Well, my bucket list, I would love to meet Willie Nelson.
Oh.
But that's never going to happen because he doesn't meet people after stage, no matter who you are.
Really?
We tried.
How old is he now?
90.
We just went up to his estate.
I'm gonna tell you something. You know, he does this farm aid every year there at his farm. And last year, the year before, he was 89 and he couldn't hardly walk. And
they brought him out.
He really couldn't hardly see the prompter. And his son would sit next to him, and he could tell if he was having trouble. He would sing with him. This year we went up there, and I'm 75. And, you know, after a while you get to thinking, you know, man, 75, you know, I'm starting to slow down and this and that. And I'm being totally honest with you now. So we went up there, and friends they take us up there every year, and it's very expensive.
About 100 people. It's very quaint. And it's, nice. I mean, Willie sings for you, and it really is. It's nice.
He walked out there and he sat down and he started singing and playing, and he just kept going and going.
Wow.
No prompter. And so I told her, standing back there, I said, I'm going to tell you something. Now I'll say what I said then.
Yeah.
If Willie can do this shit at 90 years old, I'm only 75, and it really did inspire me.
Yeah, there you go.
Really did. I thought, man, I just can't. I don't want him to drop dead now, because then I'm going, oh man, I know he's going to end up like that.
Well, look, Dick Van Dyke's 99, isn't he?
Who?
Isn't Dick Van Dyke like 99?
I think
yeah, I think he was.
And he seems to still be doing fine. He's giving interviews and stuff.
Still dancing.
Yeah.
So wait, so now you're here in the same place as Willie Nelson, but nobody's allowed to approach him or talk to him after the set, or?
We've had our people get a hold of his people, and when we were in California at Orange County, and there was other celebrities sitting with us, and we would talk to them, and I go, are you guys going to go back and see Willie? And they had told us, said he don't see anyone after the show.
We talked to Lucas, his son, but that's the only, you know.
Maybe the next best thing, maybe you could talk to him over the phone.
Oh, I don't know that he takes. I don't know what goes on.
Take a phone call. I don't know.
He does a concert for about 100 people, and he just expects you to enjoy it, and we did.
And that's it. Yeah.
We always enjoy it, but that would have been
my
bucket list ever since he did Stardust Memories album. That I was hooked then.
And when Bill sings karaoke, he sounds just like him.
No, Willie sounds like me.
I'm not trying
to sound like anybody.
I'd like to hear you sing karaoke sometime.
I can't sing anymore.
Yes. You still got it.
There you go. That'll be
That's my wife.
Come on, come out with a music video.
Yeah, that's what we need to do.
That would be fun. You guys are great. Thank you so
Well,
much.
it's always a
for your
pleasure,
time.
Denise.
I love spending time with you. One of these days, I'm going to make my way out there, come visit you.
You are welcome
I'd say
anytime.
you'll have a bigger chance of that than me going up to New York.
I was going to say,
I have
when
no
you start
desire to
chasing
go
me
up
out of
there.
here, I don't blame you one bit. I don't blame you.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't really care for New York. I mean, that was a bad place for Sam.
Yeah, but I loved going to the theater shows.
It still has a little bit of a good feel, but then you're overshadowed by all the the homeless and the illegals on the streets and who's getting robbed and and now the protests, and it's not the same. And to top it all off, they charge you $15 just to go into the city now. It's a congestion tax.
Really?
Yeah. So if you
Just
want
to
to
go there.
to drive in,
Well, they got plenty. They're making plenty of money then. There's a lot of congestion.
Yeah.
No, Sam, it was not a good place. I got to where whenever we would go up and do shows in New York and whatever, I would have Sam down in Atlantic City and stay, because New York, you got those bars open all night long. It was just not a good
situation.
Temptation.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Well, you look wonderful.
Thank you. And so do you. I love you guys so much. To me, you're family. So
I'm so
we
glad.
feel that way.
Yes, it is. And I'm just glad you had a wonderful birthday. You deserve it.
I did. 60 was hard. I mean, when you guys hit 60, was it like, geez, 60?
No,
like,
honestly,
such a weird number.
60 was okay. 50, of course, that's when my brother died. So it was,
Yeah.
But I never thought of anything until the big
I think 75 was the toughest one for me.
You guys look great. You don't even look like you're in your 70s, honestly. You really don't. You look fabulous. And you know what's really weird? And other people say the same thing. I guess when I was younger, I think like people looked older. Like, does that seem weird?
No, they were older.
They let their minds be.
But they dressed older. Like my mother in her 50s looked old. And meanwhile, when I was in my 50s, I still dressed like I was in my 30s. Long hair, makeup. My mother didn't do any of that. She had the short hair, no makeup, house coat.
My dad died at 63, and he looked like he was 80, and that was normal.
Yeah, he was.
And I was raised in a Pentecostal church where they look old anyway. And but as a teenager, if you were 50 years old, that was old.
Yeah,
they thought it was old. You thought it was old looking at them.
Yeah.
So you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they say 50 is the flip side of life.
60 is the new 40, they say. So
I'll take that.
Here you go. You'll take it.
75 is the new 55.
It's still old.
No, it's not. It's not old.
I'm from good genes. Mom just
well,
passed.
That's true.
She was 94. Dad was 88. So
my mother died at 68. And they put the obituary in the paper that she was 68. Members of her church called me. I was there at the house, and they would call me and go, Brother Bill, they put the wrong age in there for your mother. And I go, well, how old do you think she was? And they would say, all of them would say, she said she was 52. And I go, I'm 48 at that time.
But
great. She looked like it. She was a beautiful lady, and she could pass for 52.
When I saw her, yes, she was beautiful. Yes. Yeah, it's so funny.
Oh gosh, the stories of our life.
I love it.
Matter of fact, I'm writing a book.
Are you?
And this one is it's our life story mixed with success principles, and I'm calling it The Path to Greatness. And the reason I'm doing that is I was with Richard Pryor back in the green room at the Comedy Store, and Sam was out in the showroom doing his show, and we were talking about where we grew up, and I told him, I said, I knew who your pastor was, I know the church that you went to and everything. Right in the middle of it, he goes, Bill, be quiet for a second. And he sits and listens, and then I'll never forget, he stops and he looks at me and he goes, Bill, he's found
Greatness.
the path to greatness.
Yep.
And I go, Richard, you're great. He goes, I have moments of greatness. He has found the path
Wow.
to greatness. And when I thought about it, and then I thought about my brother Richard, that was just a miracle. He found the path to greatness. And so that's what we're combining, everything our family went through. And as I'm writing it,
You
I sit
forget
down with
half the stories, but they're all true. It's insanity.
But they were bizarre. I mean, I just wrote a segment on when I went to Bible college.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how bizarre it was until I wrote about it.
Wow.
And
it's like reliving
so
it.
Isn't
it almost like when you
projects that we're working on? Yeah. So
I can't wait
for them to
come out. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because these stories are priceless. These stories are priceless. Yeah.
I said people would love to read.
Yes.
They'd like to have them right there. I know I'm a reader. If you saw my table, people go, my grandkids, why do you have so many books, Mimi? I love to read people's stories and their backstories. And I tell them, I'm telling you, we got one of the best stories going.
Yeah, absolutely. We're on the same page, Sherry, because I'm all about the backstories. And yes, what you guys, I mean, I could talk to you for hours. I mean, the stories are just incredible.
We're also working on an audio book on Brother Sam. Nice. I will narrate it. Well, we've got 4 companies that's wanting to do it, and I'll narrate it. But the great thing about it is I own all of Sam's properties. When there's a routine in the book, we're going to actually have Sam doing the routine. Instead of me going, he said, you're actually going to have, here's Sam.
Oh, I love that.
Do that routine.
Oh, that's great.
So many people want audiobooks now. We've had so many audiobooks, but I'm not an audiobook. I like the paper in my hands. So
yeah.
So we got a few things going.
I can't wait. That's wonderful. Okay.
Well, you'll be the first show I'll come on and promote it. Okay.
Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you. Love you guys so much. Okay.
Love you too, honey.
Talk about Sundays. Okay. Where people find you on Facebook?
Facebook on Sundays. I'm just sitting here. I've gotten 3 texts that your Facebook has been hacked.
Oh,
okay. Well, good.
So I don't know what.
I don't know what I do then.
I guess you have to change your password. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, change your password.
I hate those people.
Yeah, they make it tough. They
YouTube.com. I think they can go to youtube.com and watch if they want to watch past. But
Gospel According to Kinison on youtube.com.
Okay.
Or Facebook, either one. Facebook is live, and then YouTube we download the
nice
the show.
And also Rumble. Rumble is a great place to put. It's a great platform to put your videos.
Really?
Yes, because like me, I get strikes on YouTube a lot. If they don't like what my guest is saying or what I'm saying, they give me a strike. Copyright, infringement and all that stuff. So Rumble, they don't do any of that. They give you it's freedom of speech all the way through. So a lot of people are using Rumble. So you can use YouTube and Rumble. Yeah. Start a channel. It'll start out small, but you keep advertising your Rumble channel and you'll get the subscribers. And you never have to worry that they're gonna, take down the video or anything like that.
Okay.
Because I'm getting shadow banned. I know that more people are watching my videos, but if you look, it looks like hardly anybody's watching my videos.
That's the same way with us, but
yeah.
Jack knows how to find it in the back end. And so anyway.
It's
craziness.
Yep. Well, give my love to Ginger.
Okay, we will.
Okay, the grandkids.
Kelly, you looked her up. Oh my gosh, did you watch her videos?
On Facebook?
No, I think they're on YouTube.
Instagram.
No, YouTube is.
I'll definitely look. I'll definitely.
She used to sing and do She had a burlesque. I call it a burlesque show, but yeah.
I have to look her up now.
We're going to watch our grandson
play golf,
do his golf lesson, and then we're going to watch our granddaughter plays softball. That's our.
You guys, you're living the life. That's the
We're
best
living
life.
the life.
That's the best life. All right. All my love
Thank
to you. I'll
All
talk
right,
to you.
love
Love
to
you.
you. Thank you.
Love you.
Thank
Talk
you,
to soon.
Denise.
God bless you.
I don't know how you do that.